another day in Bronie's world, and at Bronie's desk today we have our dear friend Pharmacist Ben, all the way from Colorado, and which I think is cute. And he has a cute accent. He struggles with our accent, but that's okay. All right, well, Ben, first of all,
you can't possibly think you speak normally down there.
Of course we do. Of course we speak the Queen's English.
You can't possibly think that's the right way to talk English.
All right. So I sent you a couple of topics that were asked to me. So I will hand it over to you to take the floor.
Okay. Well, why don't you ask me, because I don't have them in front of me. So why don't you ask me one by one?
Oh, okay. So the main topic that I was asked to ask you is, what do you say to people who get their hair test, that do the hair test, and they are told they have lots of
too much copper. They have too much copper.
For example, so they stop taking the minerals of ETT.
Okay. Well, first of all, I don't say anything. I say God love you. Jesus loves you too. That's what I say. He loves all of us. He loves you. Even if you don't take the mighty 90, as long as you believe in Jesus Christ as your Lord and Savior, you're going to be fine. Okay. That's what I say. So I don't try to talk them into it, but that's a very interesting point. First of all, when you do a hair analysis, you're seeing what's happened in your body 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
That's first of all. So it's not a real-time test. By the time something makes into your hair and it's in the ends of your hair where they're cutting and they're looking at it, that's months ago. That's first of all. So that's not a real-time test. But even more importantly, the subject of minerals is a subject that has even nutritionists head spinning, let alone the average person or a doctor who know even less than a nutritionist. So it's a very complicated subject, but it's important because that's our main product, or one of our main products, if not our main product. So it's important that we understand. There are different, I'm going to say shapes that minerals take, but really it's electronic configurations. And I don't want to get too sciencey or weird on anybody. So we're just going to say shapes that what we call minerals take. Properly speaking, when we talk about nutritional substances, we're talking about this. Can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, what is that called? Do you know?
It's a chart that gives you all the different, where all the minerals and stuff
Called the periodic table.
That's it.
Yes, they call it the periodic table. And if you'll notice in the periodic table, I mean, you don't have it in front of you, but you can see it here. Each little box has one thing in it.
Mm-hmm.
And just to give you a little example, there are boxes that say carbon, there's boxes that say nickel, there's boxes that say copper, there's boxes that say zinc. These are what the body uses. However, these do not exist in nature by themselves.
Uh-huh.
You'll never see magnesium by itself. You'll never see zinc by itself. They're extremely reactive. Mostly they'll react with oxygen. So if there's an oxygen, they'll immediately react. Or they'll react in water. Some of these minerals, they'll explode when they hit water. So you'll never see, we'll call these elements, not minerals, I'm going to call these elements. You'll never see an element in nature by itself. They exist as compounds with other things. So for example, in the case of zinc, let's say, you'll see things like zinc sulfate, where the zinc, which doesn't exist by itself, is attached to sulfate. Or you may see zinc oxide, where it's attached to oxide. Or you'll see magnesium, where it's attached to carbonate. You'll never see magnesium, you'll see magnesium carbonate, because that other thing stabilizes the molecule. Or the element, I'm sorry, the element, which, by the way, the elements are atoms. That's another word for atom. Atom elements, either way.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, the body uses atoms, it uses elements. It doesn't use minerals, with some exceptions, like the skeletal structure and the teeth. Those are made of minerals. But other than that, most of these, what we call minerals, are really elements that are being used in the body. They're being used to drive chemical reactions. They're very electronically active. I don't know if you remember, in the United States, we had a fad about, when I was a kid, so probably 50 years ago, 60 years ago, with crystal radios.
Yes.
Where they would, you remember the crystal
radios? When I was a little kid too.
Okay, all right, we had it over there too. Okay, good. So you put a little crystal, and then you would turn the crystal, and it would pull in different radio stations.
Yes.
Because the crystal had an electronic nature that would attract frequencies, radio stations being aired on frequencies. This is what elements do. They work with electronic energy, atoms, and the body's an electronic system. We talk about chemistry all the time. It's fundamentally electronic. So these elements are very important for the electronics of the body. But when we eat them, we don't eat the elements. We eat the compounds, the complexes. And these complexes come in different types. The most common complexes are the ones you get in the health food store. Those are derived basically from rocks in the earth, although sometimes they're made in factories too. But they're basically they're forms of atoms that are somewhat easy for the body to separate out. But they're not 100% easy to separate out. And so the body can't use them as efficiently. The other kind of element is the kind of element that has been transmitted or transformed, by plants.
Yeah.
I'm not giving you the whole story because just in the interest of time, but it's a very fascinating story how all this happens. But to cut to the chase, plants can take rocks which exist in the earth and can transform them into what we call plant-derived minerals. This is Dr. Wallach's great insight.
Yes.
Is that plant-derived minerals are of a completely different nature than the kind of minerals, the kind of nutritional minerals you get in the health food store, which this doctor and this copper and your friend all think about. This is what most people think about. Most people don't know about plant-derived minerals. So the major distinction between plant-derived minerals and copper from a nutritional supplement or from something you get at the health food store, the kind of standard supplements people take, is that the plant-derived minerals will suspend and dissolve in water. That's why you drink your Beyond Tangy Tangerine or your Ultimate Body Toddy or whatever those minerals. You don't see rocks anywhere in there. How come you don't see rocks anywhere in there? Because they're of a completely different nature than the kind of minerals people take when they take supplements. This ability to interact with water makes them incredibly safe and gentle and non-toxic, which is why you can eat arsenic in plant-derived minerals, but you can't eat arsenic if it's just straight chemical arsenic, or for that matter, lead, or anything else. If it's been complexed with a plant, we call it a plant-derived mineral, technically an organic mineral. Organic in this sense means it has the element carbon with it, which is the element of life.
Yeah.
The minerals that we take from the health food store are inorganic. They're non-organic. So you have an organic element, which is a plant-derived mineral. They come in two varieties, colloidal or ionic. They dissolve in water, they suspend in water, and they're non-toxic. So anybody who says, I have copper in my hair, I can't take your Beyond Tangy Tangerine, doesn't understand this distinction, which is, I'm sure some of you guys had never heard this distinction before. So it's not out there in the culture, and certainly the doctors don't know about this. And it's not their fault. And I know I've said this before, but I really want to reinforce this. I have a lot of friends who are doctors, and they are good people by and large. There's some bad apples there, but they're good people by and large. They're not supposed to their task is not supposed to be to keep us healthy and thriving. That's not their job. If we ask the doctor to keep us healthy and thriving, it's like asking a carpenter to fix your car. A carpenter can be the best cabinet maker in the world, but he's going to destroy your engine because he's got a hammer and nail. A doctor, believe it or not, I know maybe some people out there say, what? How could that be? Doctors are there to keep us surviving. When you have, and that's not a bad thing. You got to survive before you thrive. But if you're asking a doctor to understand nutrition, it's like asking a carpenter to understand your transmission. That's not their job. It's not what they're supposed to be doing. It's not their fault. They're not dumb. They're not evil. It's none of those things. We're just asking them to do something that they're not specialized in. And because nature abhors a vacuum, If we create a vacuum by abdicating responsibility for our lives and for our own lifestyle choices, they're going to come in and say, you better wear that mask. You better wear your seatbelt. You better quit smoking. Do you need a doctor to tell you to quit smoking? Really? You need a doctor to tell you to stop eating McDonald's or stop eating sugar? Really? But if we abdicate responsibility, they're going to come in and fill it. And that's what we've done. As a culture, we've abdicated responsibility. It's not their fault. And I don't want to ever be on record as giving a physician a hard time for not understanding how nutrition works or how biochemistry works or how the biochemistry or the biology of thriving works, because that's not their job. Now, I'm not talking about all doctors, I'm talking generally. There are some doctors who do research and who are healthcare professional, fully fledged healthcare professionals who exercise. And, there's a lot of really savvy doctors out there, but in large part, generally speaking, that's not their job. And what's worse is, believe it or not, you have free medicine. When you have free medicine, which isn't really free, it's government medicine, that's the worst. Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Europe, that's the worst. As bad as our medical system is here, it's way better in the sense that your doctor works for you. Although that's changing too here in this country. Now they're working more and more for corporations. But there, in your country, when we have free medicine, they don't work for you. They work for the government. And the government tells them what to do. And there's a unholy marriage between politics and health. And that's what happens. And that's just unfortunately what it is. But you know what? It doesn't do us any good to gnash our teeth and rub our hands together and be all worrywart about it. We have plenty of options. You guys are sitting here in this room. You have plenty of options. There's lots you could do. So the point I'm making here about the minerals, I hear it all the time, is you want to make a distinction between inorganic minerals and organic minerals. Organic minerals are vegetable minerals. They're minerals that are in the soil that the plant transforms, and over the millions and billions of years, there's a cycle that happens where the plant gets the minerals and then it dies, it drops them off, and then it's used by new plants, and then it dies and drops them off. You have these huge pockets of plant-derived minerals around the country, especially here in the United States. There are these large pockets of plant-derived minerals. So it's a completely different creature. Plant-derived minerals, organic minerals, colloidal minerals, ionic minerals, liquid, water-soluble minerals versus the minerals that everybody talks about when they talk about nutritional minerals. Does that make sense?
Yes, it does. So moving on with that, so a hair test that also comes up with excessive cobalt and followed by copper and zinc. Can they still continue to take our product? Well, I would say you just answered that and said yes.
I would, but if they say no, I don't want to take it, then they don't. I wouldn't persuade them to take it. That's a no-win situation if you persuade somebody to take something they don't want to take. So, fine. Yes, unless it's your kid or your husband or your wife or something, you have a vested interest in their health, it's a little bit different. But if it's just a customer that you're working with and they don't want to do it, I don't ever persuade.
Yeah. But if they ask, well, can I take it? Well, I would say yes.
Yes. Then tell them, well, you don't tell them yes. They have to say yes. You explain to them the distinction like I just explained it to you. Okay. You explain the distinction. You don't tell them yes. You got to be careful here. Like I say, you're dealing with people's health here. Say they take it and then they get diagnosed with prostate cancer the next day or the next year or the next week. And they say, I knew I shouldn't have listened to Bronie. That Bronie, she gave me prostate cancer. And it sounds extreme, but that can happen. Yeah. So you let them say yes. You say, this is how it works. There's plant-derived minerals. These are the kind of minerals you get when you eat a piece of carrot or a stalk of celery or whatever you're eating that comes out of the ground. Think about it. The plant-derived minerals, they're in the plants. So when you eat an apple, you're getting all that stuff. When you eat a carrot, you're getting all that stuff. What Dr. Wallach did is he just took all that stuff and put it into a product to sell. And he noticed that animals would thrive when they were using those nutrients, and they get sick when they didn't. And that's really what the story of the plant-derived minerals are. They're plant-derived minerals, which means the plant has turned them from an inorganic mineral, which doesn't dissolve in water, to an organic mineral, which does.
Excellent. Okay,
or suspends or dissolves.
And we're not on the convincing game, we're on the healing game.
What is that?
We're not on the convincing game, We're in the healing educational game.
Thank you, Kevin.
That's our
Thank you,
dear
Mr.
friend, Dr.
Grundy.
Kevin Grundy.
Yes, my good friend Kevin, who knows his stuff. You guys are blessed to have Kevin Grundy down there, and that's exactly right, Kevin. We're not in the convincing.
I should keep him on Spotlight as well, because it's good that he backs you up if I can find the Spotlight.
Kevin, what's your hair look like
because
today?
He hasn't got his camera on.
He
That's
doesn't have his hair. Let me see your hair, Kevin. Come on. Don't be shy.
Yeah, come on. Thank you,
look
Kevin.
At that. Look at that hairy dude.
All short.
Okay.
All right. So the next.
You sure that's not a wig? I think that's a wig.
No.
No, is that no? Okay, all right. I'm convinced.
It's really hard.
It's work in progress. It's always work in progress.
There's beautiful hair. There's a lot of guys who would kill for hair like that. A lot of women who kill for hair like that.
Yeah,
that's true.
The thick. It's really thick at the moment, like ultra thick.
All right. So moving right along.
Well, let me ask real quick, Kevin. How old are you? Is that a rude question? I don't mean to be rude.
I just turned 58 a week ago.
You're doing awesome.
I feel like about a 45-year-old.
I was going to say, if you told me you were 48 or 45, I would have believed it.
Yeah, I go cycling. I've started my mountain biking again. I go.
Good for you.
Let's get out there. I love being out in the elements.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. What's next?
Children, we're moving right along.
Yes.
This is like trying to keep class. Okay, so what is your opinion on lemon juice? I know it's good for the liver, but can you drink too much, and can it affect the acidic acid of your gut?
I mean, you could do too much of anything. If you took 8 trillion lemons and squeezed them and drank it all, you'd probably get sick. You know, I mean, obviously you can do too much, but you have to do a lot to do too much. Lemon juice is incredibly powerful stuff. Not to mention universally loved. Lemons are the most beautiful thing to me. When I see a lemon, yellow, bright yellow, tough package.
Sunshine.
It's the most beautiful thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's so gorgeous. And the juice, everybody loves the smell, and it's just universally loved. And the juice is fabulous, absolutely fabulous. I mean, can you do too much? You know, theoretically, but not realistically, not practically. You have to go out of your way to do too much. Nothing would happen really. You might just get a little queasy or nauseous from all those electrolytes, but it's great stuff. You can clean your counters with it. You can clean your mirrors with it. You can clean your teeth with it. Lemon juice contains something called alpha hydroxy acids, which skincare professionals like myself have been leveraging for 35, 40 years for helping people with fine lines, wrinkles, acne, for softening and smoothing the skin, for lightening the skin. Lemons it's hard to overstate how unbelievably powerful and human-friendly lemons are.
Awesome. And
of course, that you cut a lemon in half and rub it over your face.
Hell yeah. Yeah, you can definitely do that. It might give you a little bit of appeal.
We actually had a question about but people have really red rosacea type skin, or what's it called?
Have what? Say that again. Rosacea?
The blood vessels that on their skin.
Rosacea. Yeah. You're talking about rosacea?
Yeah, well, I guess that's what you call it.
Are you talking about the blood vessels or the redness?
Well, the blood vessels are
because you don't have the blood vessels can happen from a lot of different things, but the overall redness that occurs in the cheek, that's a condition called.
She said, what can be done for I've never even heard this word before. Telangiectasia.
Telangiectasia. Yeah, that's what I was telling you, is that just because you have veins, that's telangiectasia, which can be associated with rosacea, but there's lots of reasons for having telangiectasia. Telangiectasia is the veins that appear on various parts of the body, not just on the face, but on various parts of the body. Spider veins that appear. Spider veins are usually a sign of something going on in the connective tissue and chronic inflammation. And the only real medical strategy is to yank them out. But if you don't take care of the problem, they're just going to come back. So what you're talking about, did she say telangiectasia or rosacea, or both?
No, that
telangiectasia.
Long word.
Yeah,
and she wants to know if it can go away with nutrients.
Say again?
She wants to know if it will go away with nutrients, and which nutrients.
It'll go away. That's a great question. Listen to how I answer that, okay? It'll go away with improved health and nutrients will be part of improving her health. Do you see the distinction I made? I didn't say they'll go away with nutrients. I said they'll go away with improving the health. And this is not, I didn't just point that out for this person. This is a general way you want to look at things. You don't want to say, and longevity people get in trouble. In fact, I don't know if you know who Alex Thies is. He's a legal guy at longevity. He did a big seminar, or Facebook, not a seminar, but a Facebook thing, where we talked about how you can get in trouble and the company can get in trouble, not just you. If you go out and say, hey, Beyond Tangy Tangerine is going to get rid of your arthritis, and somebody doesn't get rid of their arthritis and they make a complaint, the company's going down. The company is going down, not just you. They'll blame the company for what you said. So what you do is there's a couple ways around that. Number one, you don't talk about diseases. You talk about conditions. Diseases are brand names for conditions. Kleenex is tissue, but Kleenex is a brand name. Tissue is a tissue. It's generic. Conditions are generic. They're biochemical phenomena: inflammation, dysglycemia, dyspepsia, indigestion, immune suppression. The names of the diseases are multiple sclerosis, Crohn's disease, Wallach's vertigo. These are names of diseases. They're brand names. They're copyrighted. You're not allowed to say them. You don't own them. They own them. They're copyrighted, like Kleenex, like Kimberly Clark copyrighted Kleenex. But you can say dysglycemia till the cows come home. And you don't have to say Beyond Tangy Tangerine is going to help you with your arthritis. You could say vitamin C is associated with building of joints and connective tissue, which can help people who have symptoms of inflammation in the joints. You can say that all day long. Nobody's going to stop you from saying that. You see the difference?
Yeah.
So you don't say that we're gonna that you can get rid of telangiectasia with nutrition, because I don't know what's causing the telangiectasia. But I can say with improved telangiectasia, I can tell you 100%, telangiectasia is a sign of some kind of disruption in the healthy milieu of the body, usually involving inflammation and usually involving immune activation and very likely involving deterioration of connective tissue. Little kids don't get telangiectasia unless they have some severe immune problems. But even then, it's rare. It's mostly a condition that happens to older people. And here's another clue. It's mostly a condition that happens to women.
Yes.
So whenever you have an issue that's mostly happening to women, you want to focus on the main distinction between men and women. What is the main distinction between men and women from a biochemical standpoint? I mean, there's a lot of distinctions, but from a biochemical standpoint, what's the main distinction? The hormone?
Yes, well, but men have hormones too, but it's
No, which hormone?
Come on, Kevin. You've got to unmute.
Kevin Grundy. What's the distinction? The main distinction between
well, it's a female hormone, isn't it? Right?
Estrogen. Exactly, estrogen. So I always look for, whenever I have an inflammatory issue that's happening in a woman, I'm always looking to estrogenic issues. So what is, and let me just say this.
And this is a lady.
Okay. Nobody just has telangiectasia. It's a symptom of overall biochemical breakdown. And that's good news and bad news for all of us in longevity, as well as for patients. Nobody just has telangiectasia. It's not a fundamental primary breakdown in the body, like digestive health issues are, like blood sugar issues are. Those are the triangle of disease. Telangiectasia is the symptom of a body that's breaking down. So the good news is that once you correct the body, whatever's going on in the body, you're going to make a significant difference in her telangiectasia and overall health. The bad news is you can't just target the telangiectasia. And anybody who tells you they can doesn't understand how the body works. So you can't just target the telangiectasia, but if you work on the body as a whole, you can do a lot of things. So let's talk about telangiectasia. You've got inflammation, right? Which is basically a general rule of all chronic health challenges. There's some inflammation that's going on. So how does the body, well, before I say that, what is inflammation technically? Bronie, we'll ask you because you're the star of the show here.
Well, like it's actually like a bit of a warning sign, isn't it? It's like the
No, that's not what it is. Mechanistically, that's one of its qualities. It's a warning sign for sure. But what is it? What is it exactly? We hear the word all the time.
flare up. It's a flare
That's just
up.
more words. That's just more words. What is it? Flare up. What's a flare up? You know, I can keep saying that. What is that? What is that? What's that? Isn't that interesting? How many times have you heard the word inflammation?
Lots.
How many times?
You hear it all the time.
Absolutely.
You
hear it all the time.
Hot and burning and painful.
All disease, chronic degenerative disease, in fact, all even infections involve inflammation. So it behooves us who are in the health business, and it behooves us who are in the human being business, who have a body, to know what the heck inflammation is, right? Agreed? Are we on the same page?
Yes.
All right. So inflammation, if you go to the medical school, they will tell you that inflammation is marked by dolor, calor, rubor, and tumor. Did they tell you that in herb school, Kevin? They talk about that in herb school sometimes. Calor, rubor, tumor, dolor. Calor means heat, like calorie. Dolor means pain. Rubor means redness. And tumor, like a tumor, means growth, swelling. Okay? Those are the 4 signs of inflammation. Still don't know what it is, but those are the 4 cardinal signs. So what is exactly happening when you have inflammation? Do you guys have airbags over there in your cars in Australia?
Absolutely, we do.
All right. Inflammation is an airbag.
And we have them on our steering wheels.
And your steering wheels too. Okay. And you know what? If people can die or get broken necks from their airbags.
Yeah.
Because sometimes when you have a protective function, you got to protect at all costs. You don't worry about the risks of it. The body's the same way. When you break your leg, the body will send fibers and fluids and cells to clean up the area and protect the area and cushion the area like an airbag. You have a built-in airbag. These days, if you break your leg or you have a knee, they'll actually give you an airbag. Have you ever seen those? These casts.
They call them a moon boot.
Yeah, like that. They're like air. Well, your body does it inside. That's inflammation. Okay? So before I continue, let me just tell you this. If you understand what I just said, you'll say inflammation is your best friend, and it is. Inflammation keeps you in the game. Praise God for inflammation. We love inflammation. However, there's a problem. See, the way the body works is, and this is just more of the magnificence of the body, is inflammation. In a healthy system, inflammation triggers anti-inflammation. This is how cool the body is. There's feedback. It's responsiveness. There's responsiveness. So when you're inflamed in a healthy system, anti-inflammatory chemistry kicks in, and that's called healing. And that's what's supposed to happen. However, we don't have healthy systems. So we end up with inflammation that never resolves. And this inflammation that never resolves is very confusing for people, because people know what a black eye is, or they know what a broken leg is, or a sprained ankle is, because you can see that inflammation. But in the body, you have the same kind of inflammation, but it's microscopic. And it's not protecting a bone like your ankle or your leg, or it's not protecting your eye or your orbital bone. It's protecting cells. It's microscopic inflammation that is a miniature analogy. It's a miniature version of macro inflammation. Now, here's where it becomes very, very important. First of all, it's important because people don't know they have it until you have telangiectasia. And if you don't know inflammation, you're like, oh my God, the telangiectasia elf shot an arrow at me and I got telangiectasia. Or the telangiectasia angel sprinkled telangiectasia dust on my head. And I was just sitting there minding my own business, and all of a sudden I got telangiectasia. Because the microinflammation is not noticed until something happens. See, the micro, just like I said, inflammation is supposed to trigger anti-inflammation in a healthy system. In a system that's not healthy, or if the inflammation is not severe enough, if it's minor, it never triggers anti-inflammation. And if you do what most people do, like you take aspirin or Motrin, you further suppress the body's ability to shut down the inflammation. You don't allow it to resolve. You don't allow for the resolution. This is why anti-inflammatories, there's so many problems associated with anti-inflammatories. So what you have to do if you have any health challenge is you have to figure out, what is the body protecting itself from? Because inflammation is a protective response. If you break your leg, it's protecting itself from the break. The body's protecting itself from the dead tissue. All the immune factors that are involved in cleaning up the dead tissue. It's sequestering that area. There's only one major place where things get into the body to initiate an inflammatory response. Where is that?
Through the mouth? Well, through the skin.
Yes. Food. No, very little through skin. So a little bit, but very, very little through skin.
Yeah, I was right the first time.
What? Yeah, not that much through skin. Not that much through skin and a little bit through your nose, but for the most part, the vast majority of, and we call it the enemy.
Yeah.
The vast majority of the enemy get into the system to cause a defensive response, an inflammatory response, the Army, Navy, and Air Force, through food. Now, the problem here is people don't like to be told about their food.
No,
people
they don't.
They don't want to hear it. They don't want to hear it, you know? And I know when I talk about it, I know either people are hating me or they're rolling their eyes at me. Oh, there goes Ben again, Mr. Food. It's all digestion, la da da. It's all the intestine. Well, it is. And
I get that too.
The reason I went through this whole story, this whole etiology or cause, is so you can see this isn't just me being some kind of Boulder hippy dippy organic Mr. Organic Veggie guy. I'm not that. I'm just telling you how the biochemistry of the system works. This is just forensics. And if you have inflammation, it's a defensive response. If you have a defensive response, you have an offending agent. If you have an offending agent, it's either coming in through the nose, a little bit maybe, through the skin, maybe, hardly any. We eat 3 times a day, obviously. And guess what else? Guess what else? People who inject drugs in through their skin have the same problems that people who have food issues. Do you ever see crackheads or speed, you know, people shoot up speed or crack, what their skin looks like? They have autoimmune diseases. They have all kinds of degenerative health challenges because they're going in through the blood. That's not us here, but that can happen. For most of us, it's food. And if somebody comes to me for help, I have to tell them that, but I don't really expect to get very far with that. And to compound it, to make it even worse, things go under the radar. So you may bloat after you eat a certain food or have constipation or have gas or whatever, and you're not going to know it because the brain only looks for things that happen once in a while. If something happens over and over and over again, it just says that doesn't matter. That's how our brains work. You have a part of your brain called the reticular activating system. And the reticular activating system takes information and says, is that information important for me to know or not? And if it happened yesterday and the day before and the day before and the day before, it doesn't matter. It's out. That it only wants to know what's new, what's novel, which is why I always tell people when they have any health challenge, they have to do a food diary. You have to see the relationship between your foods and what you're doing, and it helps to fast first. Now, this gal with telangiectasia, she wants help with, is she here, by the way?
No, she
wants help with her telangiectasia. Does anybody know her?
Yes, she's a client, a new client of mine. Her name's Wendy.
Okay. How you met her personally?
Yeah, she's in the US, but we've video chatted.
Video. How old?
She's same age as me. She's same age as you and I.
64.
Yes.
63, 64?
Yeah.
All right, fine.
This month, in a couple of days.
So you as the practitioner, because she doesn't know enough to do this. I mean, she might, but chances are she doesn't. What you as a practitioner have to do is you have to triangulate. You have to find other symptoms. I know I've said it before, but I'll just say it again. Bob Ross put a dot in the middle of the painting, in the middle of the canvas. You don't know what the heck it is. It's a dot. It's telangiectasia. But if you have another dot and then another dot, you have 3 dots, all of a sudden, that's a river. And then a fourth dot, that's a mountain. And a fifth dot, that's a tree. You have telangiectasia as a middle dot, but you got digestive problems. You got, these are things that are probably likely with her. I'm not psychic, Ben, I'm pharmacist, Ben. And I'm going to tell you some things that are likely, she has likely issues. And you tell me if I'm wrong later. I mean, you don't know. Do you know if she has if I tell you, will you know?
Some of them I will, yeah.
Okay, she's got dysglycemia. She's got messed up blood sugar, I can tell you right now. She probably has some kind of estrogenic issue. Is she rounder?
Yes, she's wanting to lose weight, and she has floaters in the eyes that she also wants to
listen, I could tell you, I could do this for you. I could tell you exactly what she's got. She's got dysglycemia. Her blood sugar is thrown off. It's probably secondary to an intestinal problem metabolizing estrogen. So her estrogen levels are probably high. She probably had a lousy menopause. She maybe had a couple of kids, and maybe she felt better after she had her kids, but she might not have been doing good before her kids. And these are all things that, you know, you might think I'm a sorcerer or I'm a psychic, but I'm not. It's just how the biochemistry works. And what's more, she may not know. Now, I'm telling you also, I'll guarantee you this, and she may not know, so you have her find out for it. She's got an intestinal problem. Okay?
Yes, she does. I have a health evaluation problem.
What do you think I am?
She has depression.
Turnip truck yesterday here?
Thirdly, she has blood pressure issues, and her other concern is floaters in her.
She's got bigger fish to fry than her telangiectasia. Okay? Yeah. She's got way bigger fish to fry. She wants something for her telangiectasia, and I'm not teasing. I'm not, you know, I'm sounding like a jerk maybe, but I'm just kind of, this is the human condition. We don't care that we're, you know, our body's falling apart and we're shortening our life and running higher risk for all kinds of god-awful things. And by the way, if she doesn't already, she's on the way to an autoimmune disease too, because all of this is part of the same syndrome. So,
yeah, I don't know that bit.
Ask her, and she may not know what it is. She may not know what it is, but it's all part of the same syndrome. You know what a syndrome is? It's a bunch of things that happen together.
Yes.
It's all part of the same syndrome. So, what I would do for her is I put her on the healthy blood sugar pack, and I'd have her do a food fast for a day or two, do a food diary, find what's going on in the intestine, and get her all the digestive support. And it will really be helpful for you if you tell her the mechanisms. You know how you see how I'm always telling you mechanisms here. I don't want to just tell you what to do. There's plenty of people who tell you take this and take that, and that's fine. And sometimes you want to be simple, and sometimes I'm too long-winded. But I think it's important that you understand, you know, that we all understand what's happening here. We want to be our own health authorities. I don't want to be anybody's health authority. I want you to be your own health authority. And that's what Longevity is all about. One time I asked Dr. Wallach, I'm probably repeating myself here, but whatever. I asked Dr. Wallach why he called the company American Longevity. And he said to me, it's his two favorite things. He said, it's America and it's longevity. And America meant to him the freedom to be his own authority, the freedom to make his own way, to make as much money as he wanted to make, not to have to work for the man, and you know, not be limited by anything but his own skill set and ability to work hard. These beautiful qualities that America has. And then he said longevity and health. And that's kind of how I think about it too. You know, I know you're down under and everything, but you know what? We have a lot in common. The reason Australians and Americans like each other, and I don't know about those New Zealanders, but the Americans anyway. No, I'm just kidding. I was a joke.
Love them too.
That was a joke. We love them too. Is because we have that same spirit, that same kind of rebel spirit where we don't necessarily just want to do what we're told to do. And so that's why I like telling you guys the mechanism so you can understand it, because you have more power when you can figure out how it's doing. And right now, you're a more powerful therapist, Bronwyn, than you were before we started this call. Now you know what to ask. Now you see a syndrome that's going on, and anybody who's listening who's really interested in this. And by the way, for new people, if there's any new people here, that's what longevity is all about. It's not about products. It's not about saving lives, although we got great products and we definitely save lives. It's about helping people understand how this magnificent thing called the human body works, what goes wrong with it to make it less than effective, what we can do about it to change that. And we're here to spread the word. And anybody who feels like that, who connects with that message is part of our family, part of our community. Right, Bronie? Right, Kevin?
Absolutely. Absolutely. All yes. Because after she sent me all these questions, he then saw a video that you and Doc Wallach did a long time ago talking about the Alex pack, and I'm going, I never even
the Alex pack, you know when that was?
Weight.
That was probably 15 years ago.
Yeah,
I think I looked, you know, that's embarrassing. The internet never forgets, does it?
No.
There's pictures of me. There's some crazy pictures of me out there. I have to be reminded that I'm 64 years old every day.
Oh, look, you're getting younger all the time. Anyway, so moving on to the next question.
Yes.
from Michelle, who is in flight at the moment, so she couldn't be on.
Okay.
And her friend, she was hoping that her friend Annie could get on to ask this question. What does he recommend for? What do you recommend for? Oh, I can't even say this. Peripheral.
Say it again. Say it slowly. Yeah.
Peripheral.
Peripheral
Peripheral.
neuropathy.
That's the word. I can read it. I just can't get it.
Okay. Peripheral neuropathy is an extremely common condition, and it's an extremely miserable condition. Neuropathy, biology is really easy to understand. They break things down to pieces. Patho means disease or dysfunctional or sick. Neuro is the nerves, and peripheral is the extremities, the periphery of the body, fingers, toes, feet, and hands mostly. Can you imagine your feet and your hands feeling like they're on fire and you can't do anything about it? No cold water will work. No ice will work. They're on fire, or they throb, or they're just agonizing pain. Can you imagine that?
Yeah.
What a curse that would be.
I don't have to imagine it. I've felt it.
It's a curse. It's a curse. And I've seen numerous people with it. It is a classic sign of, based on everything we just talked about in the last 40 minutes or so, it's 50 minutes or so, it's a classic sign of
inflammation.
Inflammation. That's exactly what it is. Now, I didn't tell you this because I didn't want to, it was already getting to be a little too deep, but inflammation, by virtue of its ability to surround things to this protective, that's what it does. Whether it's surrounding a bone or whether it's surrounding a cell, whether it's macro inflammation or micro inflammation. You guys get that distinction, by the way? It's a very important distinction, macro inflammation, micro inflammation. So whether it's macro inflammation is protecting a bone or micro inflammation is protecting a cell, there's a big problem with inflammation. Because you see, this beaver's dam is protective, but it doesn't let food in. It doesn't let oxygen in. And it doesn't let toxicity out. Imagine a beaver's dam.
Yeah.
You follow?
Yes.
So this beaver's dam creates a pocket of death in the long run. It creates a pocket of deteriorating and diseased and ultimately dying tissue, including nerve tissue. And the last tissue in your body that you ever want to have on degenerating or inflamed is the nerve tissue, because that's the part we feel pain from.
Yeah.
So peripheral neuropathy is an inflammatory condition of the nerves that leads to disease and dysfunctional and ultimately dead nerves. But while it's diseased, the nerves are screaming. Can you imagine this? The nerves are screaming. Nerves have a lot that need to be, you talk about the body all the time, but think about a cell has to have, it's doing so much work. A cell is processing and it's responsive and it's intelligent and it's growing and it's dividing and it's dying and it's making all kinds of enzymes and proteins and factors and peptides, and it's doing all kinds of stuff. It needs energy. So you can imagine if you have an inflammatory wall around the nerves, you're going to have a problem, because you're going to have nerves that aren't being able to have the raw material to do what they need, and they're going to be screaming. And that don't feel good. That feels terrible. So what can you do about it? Well, interestingly, and I probably told the story before, but this is a really cool story. When the American Empire was really flexing its muscles, and the British Empire too, in the late 1800s, the late 19th century, one of the places they went to was Asia. And this was in the pre-nutrition days. They knew about proteins and fats and carbohydrates, but they didn't know about vitamins. And they probably knew a little bit about minerals, but they didn't know what vitamins were. They didn't know what essential fatty acids were. They didn't know what amino acids were. They didn't know that there were these things in foods that we take for granted today that have incredible powers. So much so that if they're not in the diet, you get really sick. So they didn't know this. This was the pre-vitamin days. So when the British and the Americans went to the Philippines and to New Guinea and to Southeast Asia to expand the empire, one of the things they brought with them was their way of eating, their foods. Very particular. They didn't want to eat the natives' foods. The natives were eating unprocessed foods, unrefined foods, native foods, primitive foods. We're the Americans. We eat white foods. Yeah. And it's really white because we're white. We're the good guys. We're white. And so we whitened our food. And when we came to the Philippines and Southeast Asia, et cetera, we brought our food with us, and the natives started to eat our foods. And one of the things they ate, because one of the staples of Southeast Asia, of course, is rice. That was a big food. So the first thing they did was take our white rice. You know, they wanted to be like Americans, rich and wealthy, and, you know, the conquerors and Stockholm Syndrome, whatever it was, they wanted our white rice. But unfortunately, after they started eating our white rice, they started to get really sick. In fact, they got really sick. So sick that they died. A lot of them died, but before they died, they suffered from this disease where they couldn't do anything, couldn't get out of bed. They couldn't move their muscles. Their nerves didn't work. It was a nerve disease, and they ended up calling the disease I can't, because they couldn't do anything. They didn't call it I can't. They said in Swahili, beriberi. Beriberi, you probably heard the term, is Swahili for a disease that is marked by nerve issues, including peripheral neuropathies. Those are its most important qualities. So anyway, all these natives, first they got their hands and feet were on, fingers and toes were on fire, and they couldn't move, they couldn't get out of bed, they were chronically constipated, they ended up dying of heart disease. It was just terrible. So they were starting to understand nutrition. They started to say, well, I wonder if it has something to do with what they're eating, because they didn't have before, and now they're eating it. So they started to experiment with the foods. They noticed they were eating white rice, and they thought, I wonder if there's something in these rice polishings that we're getting rid of. And so they took the rice polishings and they got some animals together, and they gave the animals beriberi, and then they went to the people as well, probably. And they gave them the rice polishings, and the beriberi went away. All of a sudden, their neuropathies disappeared. All of a sudden, they had energy. All of a sudden, their bowels started functioning. All of a sudden, their mind, their emotions and their mind, and they were more clear-headed, because beriberi affects the brain too, or the heart, everything. So I said, okay, there's something in these rice polishings. And they did some examinations on the rice polishings, and they found the first vitamin to ever be discovered, which was vitamin B1, thiamine. Thiamine, which is a very, very, very underappreciated vitamin, is incredibly powerful and valuable. Obviously, I just told you about the nervous system. It's incredibly important for the nervous system, for the brain, for the heart, for the bowels, for the periphery, and everybody on peripheral, the Beyond Tangy Tangerine is loaded with thiamine, so everybody with peripheral neuropathy should be doing the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. But the problem with thiamine is that thiamine, you need 100 milligrams of it a day, and the RDA is about 1 milligram. So nobody gets enough, and unless they listen to me, because nobody's talking about it. And number two, and probably most insidious, is thiamine is used by the body to process sugar and alcohol. So the more sugar you're eating and alcohol you're drinking, the more you're burning through your thiamine. And thiamine is so important that when they have alcoholics and they're like hallucinating, they have a condition called Werner-Korsakoff syndrome, which is alcoholic psychosis, where they'll be delusional and talk to leprechauns and pink elephants and all this stuff. The stuff you hear, severely alcoholic people who are psychotic. They'll put thiamine right in their bloodstream, and the psychosis ends. It reverses alcoholic psychosis. Not only that, but you got to wonder, how about kids with ADD? How about cognitive issues in elderly people? How about cognitive issues in younger people? How about memory problems? How about Alzheimer's or other dementias? Maybe we just need more thiamine, and considering that thiamine's depleted by sugar, which everybody's eating, we eat 180 pounds of it a year in this country, probably the same in yours. Yeah. And every time when you drink alcohol, you're depleting your body of thiamine. So thiamine deficiency is probably more common than anybody realizes, and it's especially important for people who are eating a lot of sugar or people who are diabetic, or dysglycemic, we'll say. Forget diabetes, dysglycemic. So thiamine is the number one thing, and that's the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. That would be for peripheral neuropathy, and that would be Also the Ultimate Daily. There's probably a lot of them that have B1 in there, and you want to get a lot of it. And whenever you take the B vitamins, you want to take all the B vitamins with it. You don't want to just take one B vitamin. You take the whole thing. And then
we've just got just to interrupt you there with saying that, we've just down under got the biofuel, and I noticed it's got quite a lot of the B vitamins in it.
Look for B1 and look for the B vitamins. That's the thing. And then the second thing is blood sugar. Peripheral neuropathy and diabetes go together. Most are dysglycemia. Sorry, dysglycemia. You get this distinction I'm making. I'm not saying diabetes. I'm saying dysglycemia, messed up blood sugar.
Yeah.
Okay.
Are you good then?
All right. There you go.
Hopefully that helps. It's really hard when the people asking the questions aren't on. And here's another person. Jeanette's not on either, but she is treating. She's helping a lady who she wants a treatment for hyper. Oh gosh,
you're getting an education here, aren't you?
No, it's my dyslexic tongue just can't get around something.
Oh, okay, gotcha. Spell it for me. Spell it.
I just can't read them out. HY.
Spell.
Hypo. Sorry.
Hypo.
Hyper.
Okay.
HIDRO.
Hyperhidrosis.
Yes, and she has excessive sticky and copious sweating. She's a ballerina and dance instructor.
Ooh, that's not good for your
She's very slim and very nutrition deficient.
Yes, well, there you go. That's probably a big part of it. Here's the thing. She's probably working really hard. If she's nutritionally deficient, she's probably burning calories and getting hot, and sweat is one of the ways we cool. So that's one thing. The second thing is toxicity is eliminated through sweat. So the body may be trying to eliminate something. That's another thing that can happen. So hyperhidrosis is usually a sign of general toxicity or, like you're saying, malnutrition. There's some kind of stressor on the body. And again, that's not going to be something that the doctor's going to be able to know. So what you have to do is you have to start to probe. If she's hyperhidrotic, there's some stressor in the body that will cause other problems. If she's not the only, that's not the only condition. Nobody's just hyperhidrotic. Now, she may not know. You have to probe a little bit, but look for toxicity and look for well, you said there's malnutrition. Get her on the Healthy Start Pack. That's what I would do. But let her know that that's a symptom. That's not a disease, hyperhidrosis. That's a symptom. You know, a lot of times we have these things that get called diseases, like hyperhidrosis or like telangiectasia or like fibromyalgia or like atherosclerosis. You know, what those are descriptions of what's happening in the body. So hyperhidrosis means you're making a lot of sweat. So for you, so, you know, it's like you go to the doctor and say, "Doc, I'm sweating like crazy." He goes, "Oh, you have hyperhidrosis." Well, no kidding. I just told you that. I'm sweating like crazy. You know, it's like, oh, you have fibromyalgia. My muscles hurt. I got muscle pain. Oh, it's fibromyalgia. I just told you that. You're repeating it back to me. Yes, and that'll be $200, please. At least in this country. I don't know about over there.
Well, I mean, the fact that she's a ballerina.
Yes, she's probably putting a lot of stress on her body. Why is she malnourished? Get her on the Healthy Start Pack.
I know that straight away. Yeah, but anyway.
Is she a professional ballerina? She makes a living. That's how she makes a living.
Well, I don't. She's also a dance instructor. So
you tell her she'll have a lot more dancing years, healthy quality of life dancing years, if you get her on the Healthy Start Pack. That's what I would do. And that's not a joke. That's serious. You'll add years to her career. You'll add years to her career. If she loves to dance, that's what you should say to her. If you love to dance, which she probably does, you know, you have 10 more years of dancing in you. You're gonna get an extra 10 years of dancing, you know, by getting on a good nutritional supplement program and taking care of your nutrition.
Well, that brings me to a friend of mine who is also a dance instructor and was a dancer with the Australian Ballet, I think she was with. And she, I just found out recently that she has now been diagnosed with MS.
That's tragic, but that is something you can tell her about. You know, MS is it's an autoimmune disease. All autoimmune diseases are inflammatory. And by the way, when you have inflammation, you have immunity. Immunity is, inflammation is the calling card of the immune system. It's how it announces itself. So inflammation is immunity, and multiple sclerosis is an inflammatory disease where the blood vessels become hard. That's not supposed to happen. And it's not genetic and it's not hereditary. It's just something getting into the system. People who get vaccines can get multiple sclerosis-like disease. They don't call it multiple sclerosis. They call it polio or Guillain-Barré or something like that. But the same idea, impaired neural conduction secondary to inflammation. Sclerosis, multiple sclerosis, you got hard fibroses. You got to, work on the inflammatory process and support health, nutrition while you're doing it. The most important entrance of inflammatory toxins into the body is through the intestine. I know I've said this before, I'll say it again. Dr. Terry Walls, medical doctor, she wrote a book. She got diagnosed with MS. By the way, MS is another one of those things that affects people when they're young, not when they're young, but when they're prime of their life. She got MS, and you know what she did? She cut gluten out. Now, I'm not saying it's going to be as simple as that, but I'm just telling you, by fasting, by working on digestive health, and by cutting gluten, she didn't have MS anymore. And basically, she cured herself. And I'm not saying this. This is Dr. Terry Walls. It's in her book, The Walls Protocol, WAHLS. Everybody with MS who really cares enough to want to explore alternatives, not everybody will, but if they do, get this book. And any autoimmune disease. When you think about the mechanism of autoimmune disease, you know it has to be intestinal. And now it's not really accepted by the mainstream yet, but it's getting more in the research. I didn't need research. It's just logic. So much of biology and chemistry and health is logic. Now you've got studies that say, oh, Parkinson's disease in the gut, autoimmune disease in the gut. And there's more recognition of it, but you just don't want to wait for that to be recognized. Just use your logic. People who inject themselves with vaccines, they get autoimmune disease. Not all, obviously not, but a lot, their autoimmunity can be induced by vaccinations. Say you're getting into the blood. All right.
Okay.
That was wonderful. Bronwyn, I hope we got to everybody's questions.
No.
If we didn't, we can, no? Are there more?
I have a big one here.
Big one. All right, let's do one more.
This is actually, there's a lot to read here. I did send it to you. And this is
Bronie, before you go into other people's questions, have we answered all the questions of who are on the call here today?
That's a very good point, Mr. Grundy.
Have we? Do we have any? Well, I haven't got any other question other than my husband, but he's sitting outside.
You can ask me later. You can call me later on that. Let's do one more. Let's do one more, whatever it is.
I don't have any. I don't know if anyone else in the room has a question. Does anyone else have a question here in the room to speak now?
How's everybody doing? I always can see you, and I can see Kevin, and I see Joan's beautiful picture, and I see Grant. But I don't know who's listening, who's watching, and I can't really get feedback.
Oh, Maria has another question that we talked to earlier.
Let me talk to the peanut gallery over here. Hey, peanut gallery, that's over here.
Karen's room.
Yeah, the Karen's room. I want to see who's there. How you guys doing? Because I can see everybody else. I can see them responding, but I can't see you. Did all that make sense, you guys? Yeah, make sense?
Thumbs up.
Okay, and then tell me, and you guys tell me, are you all distributors? Or are you all guests? Or how's it work, Karen?
Both.
Both. Who are the guests? Who are the guests?
Well, Marilyn?
No, Karen too.
Oh, no, in fact, no, they're all distributors or customers.
Okay, all distributors. Okay, good.
Quick introduction,
Karen? Eh?
A quick introduction.
To who? All of us?
Just
go see everybody.
Who's there?
Yep.
I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I'd like to get to know. Oh my
gosh. A lot of people.
Oh, look at that. Look at that.
Emmanuel, Kim, Liz, Keith, George is asleep.
I noticed a lot of people who come to my talks have narcolepsy. I don't know why that is.
Andrew, and you got David and Marie.
Hello. Hello,
we spoke to Marie last week.
How does it work with the uplines? Who's the big honcho down there? Is it Rich Stocks? Is everybody under Rich?
Yeah, probably me.
So you're on top of Rich is underneath
No,
you?
Rich is we haven't seen Rich for a long time. Years, 5 or 6 years, haven't seen Rich.
I don't know. He kind of opened everything up though, didn't he?
Correct. Him and Todd, Total Nutrition basically opened it up.
Total Nutrition, right? And then you're the top guy in that down under there.
Correct.
That group?
Correct.
I didn't know that, Kevin. That's awesome. I didn't know that.
Oh.
Congratulations.
Pretty much everybody here except for
Even Bronwyn?
Joan, Grant.
No,
We've signed
probably
Bronie
not
up?
me because
Bronwyn's
I
not
came
in my
in
group.
with
No,
you.
Bron. She
I
should
know
be
you.
in my group, but she, yeah.
Whose group are you in, Bronnie?
Well, I have no idea because I came in with Benny and all my upline disappeared.
Okay,
So
gotcha.
she could be in my group.
All right. Well, I didn't
But
never knew.
Maria wants to share something with you.
Yes, Miss
Can you
Modesti.
unmute again, Maria?
Sorry, I actually put my question in the chat.
Okay.
I brought my 7-year-old home from school today. He's fallen
Yes.
over and whacked his head on the basketball courts.
Oh no.
So
Do you have a
there's no
concussion or
concussion.
no concussion? Okay.
None of those symptoms. Took him straight to the doctors just to check. Keeping an eye on him. Can't sleep for 4 hours, and so far he's full of energy. So I know he's okay.
Yeah, he'll be fine. 7-year-olds
Yeah.
are like, there's nothing that stops a 7-year-old. So he's he's gonna be fine. But give him some BTT and some minerals, and don't give him any sugar or processed food or anything. I hope you guys know, as much as the BTT is important and the supplementation is important, the processed food, the fried food, the hamburger, the fast food hamburgers, all those kinds of things, they will wreak havoc on the body. Havoc. And deli meats. Deli meats.
Meat. We're off deli meat. We've got gluten free.
No,
we're gluten free.
Yeah, good for you. Yeah, all that's very important. But I think he'll be fine.
Essential fatty acids too there, eh?
Well, this is what I wanted to ask you.
Essential fatty acids for the brain.
How do I
Kevin,
give him the EFAs, and what else was that? What else did you say?
Why would you? What do you mean by how would you give him? Like how many?
Because it's in a capsule.
Okay, so a couple things you can do. That's a good question. Couple things. First of all, if you put it in a little applesauce, it'll slip down his throat. Or yogurt. Okay. Second of all, you can stick a pin in there and you can squeeze it out in a smoothie.
Okay.
Make him a fit shake smoothie and squeeze a couple of those capsules in there.
Okay. All right. So how many are you allowed to have?
Oh, he could do 10 of them, 12 of them. You can't give him enough. But he can certainly do 3. You can do 3 or 4. Essential fatty acids are phenomenally important.
It's to start at 9.
Impossible.
Our figure is 9.
Say again?
Doc generally gets us to start at 9.
9, yeah.
Even he's 7-year-old?
Even a 7-year-old. It wouldn't hurt him to take 9, but 7's kind of small. The thing about kids like that, their hormone system is so revved up for life. They're not like us, old farts. Nature loves the kids. Nature loves the kids. We gotta work for it. Nature's bounty goes on the kids. So you don't really need to do too much to a kid past the basics, but certainly you don't want to be giving him, negative nutrition food, which is what most kids eat and the way the culture eats. So you want to be careful with the foods. But he'll be fine. I'm sure he'll be fine. And look for bleeding. They probably told you bleeding in the ears or bleeding in the nose or anything like that, or the eyes. But I don't think that would. I don't think that would.
No, he did say though no contact sports for 2 weeks, so he's allowed to go to soccer training and do.
He's in the concussion protocol. That's what we have here in the football. They put people in the concussion protocol.
Okay.
So, okay. But anti-inflammatory. EFAs are nature's aspirin. They have natural anti-inflammatory properties. So Kevin, that was a very good call. The EFAs are wonderfully anti-inflammatory. We just got through talking about how inflammation is such a problem. The EFAs are anti-inflammatory, and that has some tremendous that gives it some tremendous ability to heal, to help people recover or get relief from things like arthritis or bursitis or mental health issues or brain health issues like you're describing, any kind of inflammatory issues, joint issues, back issues, that kind of thing.
Okay. Thank you. That makes sense. Thank you so much. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Okay. Well, Ben, I know we sort of kind of gone over time.
That was fine. I enjoyed it.
I did send you the last question separately, which is
your husband. Is that your husband?
No, not my husband's one. He just can't figure out why he's got a lot of gas from both ends. But
Gas from both ends. Well, listen, there's not a lot of options here. You know, if you got gas, where's it coming from? It got to be coming from one place. You got a gas factory in your body, obviously, right? I mean, it's the gas factory. Yes, you get that we all have a gas factory.
Yes.
You get that we make gases that are actually important for opening and closing blood vessels and causing cells to migrate to certain areas and activating the immune system. We make gas hormones. There are gases in our bodies, and one of them, believe it or not, you know what we call it? We call it fart.
Well, he didn't want me to say that.
I know, but I'm going to say it because we're all adults in this room, right? I don't see any kids. So here's the thing. Fart, or as we used to say, petard, in more elegant company, is a gas called hydrogen sulfide. And hydrogen sulfide is a very important gas neurotransmitter, gas hormone. Actually, I'm pretty sure it's a neurotransmitter too. Gas hormone and neurotransmitter. So what he's talking about is a very common thing in the body. However, if it's coming out of both ends like that, to the point where his wife is complaining and he's getting kicked out of parties and, you know, he can't go on the bus anymore, then chances are he's got too much bacteria in his small intestine, as Kevin already said, which is everything is described as SIBO, small intestinal bacterial overgrowth. And we don't have time to talk about it today because we talked about it before. And I'm happy to talk about it next week if you want, or next time we're on, because it's really an important subject. It's very, 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 very important. And, you know, just like you can't eat just one potato chip, nobody just has SIBO. There are health challenges that cascade off of SIBO. Everything, every single health challenge. We talk about the primacy of the intestine. We're really talking about SIBO. I haven't mentioned SIBO, but that's what we're talking about. We talk about the primacy of the intestine when it comes to the triangle and the development of chronic degenerative disease. Really what we're talking about is SIBO. And it's a very important subject. I-26 for SIBO.
He has I-26.
Good.
Can we
need more of it?
Can we look at that more in depth next time? Because I'd like to talk about the link between SIBO and blood sugars. Okay, because there's
sugar.
Because there's that big link now, and you'll be tying this link now for the last probably 4 or 5 months back to us to SIBO and blood sugar or hyperglycemia.
Always, you're gonna find out FODMAPs. You're talking about the FODMAPs. Sugar.
Yeah,
they're gonna find out in 50 years. You're ahead of the curve. And they're going to say that old Ben, he knew a thing or two, because in 50 years, they're going to be talking only about the intestine as the source of everything. And you don't need to, like I said earlier, you don't need to wait for them to put their stamp of approval on a theory that makes perfect sense. It's perfectly logical, and that has been shown, has demonstrated proof of concept, has demonstrated that it works over and over and over again throughout history, really. So anyway, that sounds like
a good plan. And
we will do that.
The other question is very in-depth, so I've already sent you that privately. So I'll chat.
You can call me.
Yeah, I'll chat to you privately about that. And
okay.
Yeah.
All right, Bronwyn Clinton and Kevin Grundy. So good to see you. And Grant McGinnis and Karen. I only see Karen for 30 seconds on these calls, but that's okay.
She's hosting her meeting.
She like pops in and out. Let's see her for 30 seconds. Bye, everybody.
Well, thank you very much for that, Ben.
Much appreciated. We'll have you down here soon.
Yeah.
All right. Bye.
And as I say here in Bronnie's World, so I ask you all nicely to stay safe, stay informed, be empowered, but do not live in fear, my friends. And when you're looking after your intestines, then you too will be powerful, beautiful, brilliant, and most definitely very brave. God bless you all. Catch you again tomorrow here in Bronie.
Thank you so much, Bronie.
You're welcome. Bye, everyone.